Hello, all. Today I'm going to bring up six essential skills or habits to some extent that needs to be inculcated and developed and are must have to be successful investors or even entrepreneurs for that matter. I've been an investor myself for the last decade or so and have studied a lot of smart and successful investors, a lot of books I've read about the successful entrepreneurs because studying management and the CEOs and the entrepreneurs are part of my analysis process in investing. So, having done that, I have done some notes and have whatever my learnings have been, I thought I would bring it out in this concise presentation, which indicates what are the most essential six skill set that needs to be developed to be successful investor. And at the same time, I have recommendations of two books across each of these skill sets and habits that one needs to develop to be extremely successful and rich investors as well as entrepreneurs, because there are always entrepreneurs and investors who are uh, successful but give up in the due course, trying into different new ventures. To stay consistently rich, to stay consistently focused and consistently successful, it's difficult. There are very few people who have done that, and this is what I have learned, and I thought I'll share this wisdom with most of the folks who are listening to this. And let's get into this analysis. So here we go. The first skill set is time management and prioritization. This is not only for investors or entrepreneurs, it could be applicable to anybody in any venture or field. It could be a startup, it could be a social work, whatever it is, it's very important to have time management and prioritization in hand, especially in today's world of distractions, mobile, connectivity and internet, everything at the click of a button. It's very difficult to have that dedicated time of focused work. Now, prioritizing what is the most important thing in a day or a week or a month, no matter what time period we are looking at, prioritization is very essential. Prioritize the most important thing that is required to meet the goal that we have, or the in the venture that we are venturing into, and dedicating blocks of time to develop the skill set required for that whichever venture we are into, and the skill set required to improvise ourselves on a daily basis. Being a continuous learner is very essential. So to read books, for example, in the field of investing, reading books is the most important thing. It's a key ingredient or raw material, only raw material I would say, in the process of investing. And blocking dedicated time to read and understand financial statements, analyzing companies, competitive landscape, learning about businesses, different types of industries are all important in the field of investing and entrepreneurship. So reading books across various subjects and continuous learning are essential. And to do this, we need to dedicate blocks of time. And I learned this from multiple books, but a couple of books I would recommend here is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma and Deep Work by Cal Newport. Both are celebrated books, New York Times bestsellers, great authors. Uh, I learned a concept called victory hour, where the first thing you do is dedicate 1 or 2 hours of that block dedicated time without any distractions to improvise the skill set, to focus on the most important thing that you need to learn to move towards the goals. And even deep work is the same concept. I mean, deep work is in the world of distractions, how to dedicate time to focus only on what is essential, what is prioritized within that time, and managing that time is very important. So these two books will help us to inculcate and develop this skill set of time management and prioritization. And if already read, but reread these books from the aspect of time management. The second skill set is obviously focus and persistence. Goes hand in hand. So having relentless focus on the process, underline the word process, and I'm accentuating the importance of the process, focusing on process and persisting through the challenges no matter what, is really important for a successful investor, entrepreneur, or any other venture that you're into. So persisting through challenges is important because the process sometimes, however, whatever passion it is, however, how much of a passion we have, sometimes the process can be drilling, can be treacherous, and might need to persist through those challenging times. For example, it was difficult for me to learn and understand financial statements, and when I found investing as my passion a decade back, It took a toll on me to really go through the balance sheet, understand financial jargons, financial statements. I had to reset and refresh completely and dedicate chunks of time learning about financial statements. I took an accounting course when it was a rigorous process, but although I enjoyed the process of learning, it was tough, it was difficult. I had to persist myself through these challenges and get through the other end of the spectrum and learn those concepts. Now it would require a lot of grit to stay through these challenging times, especially when we are thrown into the world where we have no idea, where we have no previous precedence of experience or learning. So it becomes important to focus on the process, and however passionate we are, the process is going to be difficult certain times, and persisting through these focus and having relentless focus is very important. So a book I would recommend is Angela Duckworth's book called Grit, that talks about passion and perseverance, how to focus on the process. And another offbeat book I would recommend is Snowball, written by Alice Schroeder on Warren Buffett's biography. A great book. And why I brought in Warren Buffett's book is because it was noted to have written by Warren Buffett in one of the shareholder letter that they enjoy the process more than the proceeds. And that's so true when it comes to when we read any investor, any successful entrepreneur, or any successful human being for that matter. Having enjoyed that process is very important, and staying persisting through those processes more than the outcome is more important. So these two books, I'm sure, will help all of us as entrepreneurs, investors, or any successful ventures that we are into, to make them successful and to stay through successful consistently over long periods of time. It's important to inculcate these skill sets and habits. The next book I would talk about is the next skill set, rather, I would talk about is positivity and optimistic mindset. So, if you study any great investors, CEOs, social entrepreneurs, they are all optimistic and have positive growth mindset. There is one thing that, or two things that investors should inculcate as a trait of success. It's optimism and growth mindset, even for business people. Uh, Especially CEOs and entrepreneurs who does not have the growth mindset, it's difficult to continuously improve and provide the value for customers, to consistently grow in terms of revenues, in terms of values, in terms of the offerings and services or products. And it is tough to survive otherwise in that competitive world. And even for investors, it's very important to develop the optimistic mindset and positive mindset, because without that, in the world of negativity and limiting beliefs, it's very difficult to strive through. And best example is the current market crash in 2020, when there is all around pessimism. You open a news channel, you talk to anybody, there is always negative news, negativity around, and all gloom and doom. In such a scenario, it's very difficult to stay invested through the course, to stay invested whether in your business, to stay invested in stocks. It's very difficult to stay through the course. Many people throw the towel at the first sign of negativity or difficulty. Having such limiting beliefs, we have been brought up in the childhood. It's very difficult to come out of that, and to develop that habit of positive mindset, I would recommend two books. The first one being called Mindset Itself, written by Carol Dweck. Another great book. It was recommended by Satya Nadella as soon as he took over as a CEO of Microsoft. The other book is The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen Covey. Very famous book again. Nothing new, but reread these books from the angle of optimistic mindset and positivity. So Stephen Covey talks about working in within the circle of influence and not worrying about the outer circle, which is not in our hands, and continuously expanding the inner circle, and going with our goals and focus in mind. It's a great book. I have done another video dedicated on the seven habits of highly effective people. I put a couple of mental models I learned from this book, and you can search on that in my channel. But these are two great books I have read about, and specifically on the topics of mindset, that is growth mindset and positivity. The next skill set, very essential, is financial literacy. This might come offbeat because it is something that it's a skill set that needs to be learned, developed, because both in terms of personal finance as well as in terms of business aspect, Many a times we see people caught off guard in the field of finance. Especially there are so many financial jargons out there. When we start up, when we do a business, most often we outsource most of this financial aspect to CFOs. No, nothing wrong in that, but it's very essential for us to have an understanding of the balance sheets, understanding the cash flows, understanding the financial jargons. If not in the business field, even for a common man, it's very essential to understand and develop the skill set of financial world, financial literacy, in personal finance as well, to be successful and to be rich. Otherwise, we wouldn't be ending up being rich if we don't have a complete understanding of how to save taxes, how to invest well, how to apply and gain benefits from the principles of compounding, understanding the mortgage terms when we invest in a house or when we invest in real estate. It's all very important, how much debt we need to carry in the balance sheet, in personal balance sheet as well. What is the implications of financial leverage, what is implications of having higher taxes, how to gain from the benefits that is set up. So all of this requires a lot of depth in the financial world. From personal finance, I would recommend a book called The Millionaire Next Door, written by Thomas Stanley and William Danko. Both PhDs have done a lot of research in this area. Great books to understand. And there are other books also in the market. The Richest Man in Babylon, I think. There are very simple books called Rich Dad Poor Dad. There are many other books, but the one I liked in personal finance is The Millionaire Next Door. And in the business world, for entrepreneurs and business people, the book written by Mihir Desai, How Finance Work. It's a Harvard Business Review guide to understand the numbers and the financial world. There are definitions across the financial aspects. It's a great book and must read, for developing the skill set. So next habit is the most common denominator that I've seen based on my analysis across all successful millionaires, billionaires, or no matter which field we take, it's a habit of reading. There is no replacement for this habit and process of reading because it enhances the insights, our creative vision, thought process, neural networks, invokes the networks, and also finally we end up gaining a lot of knowledge. So there is no substitute for reading. And imagine the situation where the author who's writing a book would have spent years of efforts in putting together any book based on a lot of experience, a lot of interviews, and finally we as readers can grasp and glean this knowledge in just a matter of one or 2 weeks. And that's so powerful. And also it has a profound impact in our day-to-day lives. So first I would recommend a book called How to Read a Book by Adler and Van Doren, since it's really important to understand how to read a book, and not just skimming through or maybe just reading through fast in the first attempt and then not retaining the knowledge and important points is the common problem with human beings. We humans has a tendency to forget things, and yeah, what's in not in mind, it never gets registered once we don't reread. So rereading of a book is even more important, and underlining with taking notes are all very important. So this book will help to understand how or the process of reading itself, which is keen. And the other part is I would recommend is a website called gatesnotes.com. Most of us would have heard about this. This is maintained by Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a voracious reader, most voracious reader we would have ever known to be. And he reads at least a book a week, and he publishes his reviews on those books in his website. And it's very evident why some of these successful entrepreneurs and billionaires have this habit. And you can take Bill Gates example. He has more knowledge in vaccines than many of the medical practitioners that way, because of his reading and investments in vaccine. And he has or if you take Elon Musk, who started PayPal with little financial and payments technology understanding, disrupted the whole banking and payment scenario, moved into the electric autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles with the least understanding. And also he ventured into SpaceX, and without any background on developing rockets. And They went and built rockets, including Falcons, which were very successful after multiple attempts, though. But the underlying factor is a lot of reading and continuous learning. That is something we can take away as investors as well, because in investing, especially, a lot of reading is required across varied spectrum of fields, and that is what gives us the edge. And today's world of information, everything is out there, pretty open, and anybody can pick a book or pick a video and go through a lot of materials, a lot of subjects, and understand. So it's even more challenging for us as investors to keep up to date. So this is one of the very essential skill set that one needs to develop. And the last one in this is developing the patience and perseverance as part of building that framework for us. It's the most important habit or skill that one needs to develop to be a successful businessman, or an entrepreneur or investor for that matter. And it involves both patience and perseverance. Investing and business entrepreneurship are long term games which needs the ability to withstand near term challenges, roadblocks, and wait for the right time. Now, both are infinite games. When I say infinite games, it involves infinite metrics when we try to build up a business from scratch, or try to be an investor, try to be a private equity, venture capitalist, whatever it requires a lot of long-term thinking with a long-term infinite game mindset. And the metrics should be driven by core values and ethics, based on what we add for the customers, and also for the other stakeholders involved, than looking at just the finite metrics which is outcome driven, like the revenue growth and near term competitive market share grab and other things. So that is what the focus should be. And a great book for anyone who's starting a business or who's starting to be investor is Simon Sinek's recent one called The Infinite Game. It again talks about the infinite game mindset. Why is it so important to have that kind of a mindset, as against what is driving the world today with the finite game mindset. So that's it's a great book, a lot of case studies for future upcoming entrepreneurs. So it's a must read book. And the last one, I would say, for patience and perseverance, it's about reading the book called The Patience Itself, written by Alan Locus. It is called The Art of Peaceful Living, and it's more on the Buddhist philosophy. He is a Buddhist philosopher, and I'm not trying to propagate philosophy here, but it's more to do with how to develop, having that mindset to develop the patience. And it's so critical. And also, even the book Grit, recommending here, because even Grit talks about a lot of patience and having that perseverance, how to develop that with a lot of case studies that one can apply in life. So there we go, six skill sets and habits that involves a lot of rigor to be put in place, and a lot of discipline to be put in place, and 10 books across each of those skill set. Trust this was helpful, and thanks for listening to me.